Most writers are sold a timeline that quietly wastes years. You're told to write a great book, polish it until it's perfect, query agents, wait patiently, and trust that if it's good enough, everything will fall into place. That sounds reasonable. It's also why so many talented writers stall out. Here's what nobody explains clearly. The writing career path most people imagine doesn't match how time, feedback, or momentum actually work. That conventional timeline is a marathon of waiting, not a sprint. Industry insiders point out that even fast traditional publishing can take about 2 years from idea to print, and anything under a year is lightning fast at best. In practice, people often lose years waiting for agents, contracts, and publication slots. This video is not motivational. I'm not here to hype you up or tell you to believe in yourself. This is strategic. If I were starting over as a fiction author knowing what I know now, I would follow a very different author's success timeline, one built around feedback, leverage, and control. In this video, I'll walk you through the lie about author timelines, why indie publishing compresses time, what actually accelerates author success, and what realistic progress really looks like at 6, 12, and 24 months. If you've ever wondered how long it takes to become an author and why the answer always feels vague, this will give you clarity instead of comfort. But before we dive in, let me quickly explain what Indie Inc. is and why you can trust the advice you're about to hear. Indie Inc. is a trusted online hub for fiction writers, especially first-time and self-publishing authors. They offer practical guidance, inspirational content, and free tools like templates and checklists to help you write, finish, and launch your book with confidence. Their advice comes from real experience and expert-level resources designed to support every step of your author journey. Now that you know what Indie Inc. is about, let's get back to the real reason you clicked on this video. Just write your novel and the rest will follow, is what most writers hear. The belief taught by big publishing is that once you finish a polished manuscript, an agent and publisher will quickly take over. The consequence of trusting that is years of waiting. In reality, traditional publishing is extremely slow. Steve Loeb's breakdown shows idea to print, approximately 2 years, and that's average. Even after you land a deal, roughly a year goes by while the publisher designs a cover, markets it, and gets your book to bookstores. Tracy Gold warns this can be soul-crushing for authors, emphasizing that if speed matters, self-publishing is the way to go. There's another part of this timeline problem that almost never gets discussed. Traditional timelines don't just delay publication, they delay learning. When feedback is delayed by years, writers don't know which part of the process failed. Was it the concept, the genre choice, the opening pages, the positioning, or simply timing? Everything blurs together. So when rejection happens, the takeaway becomes emotional instead of diagnostic. Writers assume the book wasn't good enough, when in reality, it may have been misaligned with the market, poorly positioned, or simply impossible to evaluate because no real readers ever saw it. This creates a dangerous loop. Writers respond to uncertainty by over-polishing. They revise endlessly. They second-guess every sentence. They rewrite the same manuscript instead of writing the next one. From the outside, it looks like dedication. In practice, it's paralysis caused by a lack of feedback. A writing career doesn't move forward because of certainty. It moves forward because of controlled exposure. Successful authors don't wait until something is perfect to release it into the world. They put work into environments where it can be tested, measured, and improved. The traditional timeline removes that environment almost entirely. That's why even successful traditional authors often feel stuck early on. They publish one book every few years, receive vague sales numbers, and are told almost nothing about reader behavior. The delay isn't just slow, it's opaque, and opacity is the enemy of momentum. So what do successful authors do differently? They don't just wait for the old system. Many will parallel path, writing the next book while waiting, or bypassing the wait entirely by self-publishing or hybrid publishing to keep moving. Try to avoid the traditional bottleneck with a dual-track strategy. Set firm internal deadlines. Treat the agent query phase as a limited window, for example, 3 to 6 months. If you haven't signed within that time, pivot to publishing it yourself so you keep forward motion. Parallelize writing and waiting. Don't sit idle. If you do land a contract with a long production timeline, immediately start your next book. This way, you're always writing rather than waiting. Build momentum, not permission. Use your waiting time to grow your platform. Collect email subscribers, engage with readers, and polish your next launch. That way, when you do publish, there's an audience ready instead of just dust. Follow a checklist. For example, Indie Inc.'s free self-publishing checklist walks you through every step from draft to launch. We've linked it in the description. It ensures you don't let unnecessary delays creep in. By treating the author journey as a project with timelines rather than a passive dream, you seize control of your time. You won't waste years on a promised pipeline. You'll keep creating and publishing on your own schedule. The belief many authors are taught is that traditional publishers are the only path to legitimacy, or that self-publishing is as slow or hard. The opposite is true. Indie publishing gives you unprecedented speed and control. In the indie model, you can publish literally as fast as you can finish each step. With digital platforms and print on demand, you can have an ebook live in days once the book is ready. Steve Laub even notes indie publishing can be nearly instantaneous compared to traditional delays. The consequence of relying on the slow route is that you miss out on feedback loops. Indie speed means real market data comes back quickly. Readers can start leaving reviews or buying pre-orders right away, giving you immediate insight into what works. If a cover or blurb isn't resonating, you can change it in weeks rather than months. For instance, one sci-fi author discovered adding a spaceship to his covers instantly increased sales, showing how quickly you can iterate. In contrast, a traditionally published author waits years before learning anything. That waiting period often kills momentum. Successful indie authors build faster feedback loops. They release books frequently, sometimes 3 to 4 a year, and use reader response to guide their next moves. This isn't about blind speed. It's about rapid cycle iteration. Another overlooked advantage of indie speed is psychological momentum. When authors publish faster, they don't just get data sooner. They stay emotionally invested. The gap between effort and result shrinks. You finish a book, and within weeks you can see sales numbers, reviews, and reader reactions. That feedback, even when it's imperfect, creates a sense of progress that fuels the next project. Slow timelines do the opposite. When outcomes are delayed by years, motivation erodes. Writers begin to emotionally detach from their work. They hesitate to start the next book because the last one still feels unresolved. Indie publishing collapses that emotional lag. Speed also reduces risk. Traditional publishing concentrates risk into a single launch. One book, one shot, one long wait. Indie publishing spreads risk across multiple releases. If one book underperforms, the next one can correct course. Covers can be changed. Blurbs can be rewritten. Series direction can shift. Nothing is permanent, which paradoxically makes authors bolder and more productive. This is why many high-performing indie authors don't obsess over any single title. They view each release as a data point inside a larger system. The goal isn't perfection, it's trajectory. Think of it like compound interest. Each release teaches you something, and over time, patterns, confidence, and leverage compound. Speed doesn't just compress time, it multiplies learning. So treat indie publishing like a well-run sprint. Here's where to start. Parallel workflows. Line up your editing, cover design, and formatting to happen side by side. For example, Hire your editor and cover artist as soon as your draft is near completion, so there's no idle time between steps. Pre-orders and launch planning. Schedule your launch date early and open pre-orders 1 to 3 months before. That way, marketing builds while you finish final touches. Rapid release schedule. Set a target, for example, 4 books per year, and reverse engineer it. Break your year into writing, editing, and launch phases so that as soon as one book launches, you're already polishing the next. Market feedback loop. Within weeks of a release, read the reviews and sales data. Use that data to tweak covers, blurbs, or pricing. For example, if reviews say the title is confusing, consider a quick change. This measure and adapt loop keeps you aligned with readers. By owning every step, indie publishing cuts out the gatekeeper's cues. You control your release cadence, which means you're always learning, improving, and delivering new books. The common belief is that you just need to write harder and wait for luck. Instead, success comes from strategy and systems. A key principle is market-first thinking. Treat your book like a product for an audience. Before writing a word, figure out who your reader is and what they love. Draft to Digital advises, like any business owner, it behooves writers to do their homework before committing to a project, especially one that could take a year or more to complete. In practice, this means studying bestseller lists, tropes, and reader reviews in your genre. Next is positioning before prose. Pick your genre, subgenre, and unique hook up front. Outline your series and story beats to hit those reader expectations. For example, romantic suspense fans want a certain tone. Sci-fi fans expect specific tropes. Then choose a cover and title that signal those to your audience. As the SFWA article points out, a great cover can sell a so-so book, and a bad cover can tank a great book. In other words, focus on packaging over perfection of prose. Get a professional cover, compelling blurb, and metadata from day one. Those elements are your billboard. If you don't captivate readers immediately, even excellent writing might languish unseen. The consequence of ignoring market and packaging is wasted effort on books that don't reach their readers. Many writers spend years perfecting a manuscript that never clicks simply because it wasn't positioned well. On the other hand, successful authors have release systems. Michael Anderle's strategy of writing dozens of books, the 20 books to 50,000 approach, shows that volume plus brand consistency can overcome any one book's weak spot. Finally, use data-informed decisions. Track your sales ranks, newsletter opt-in rates, and advertising ROI. If a particular book or marketing tactic underperforms, analyze and adjust. Consider A/B testing ad copy or adjusting prices seasonally. This kind of smart experimentation treats writing like a business, learning from numbers instead of relying on hope. So here's what you can do. Market research. Before drafting, list your target genres and reader demographics. Browse bestseller categories and note cover tropes, title formats, and common plot themes. Positioning. Define your hook in one sentence. For instance, space opera set on Mars where you add your own unique twist. Ensure your cover art reflects genre norms. As the sci-fi author learned, adding a spaceship image told readers exactly what to expect. Pre-production. For each book, complete an outline and metadata. Synopsis, keywords, before writing. Get a professional cover, hire editors, and set up formatting as soon as the draft is done. Post-launch review. 2 to 4 weeks after release, review key metrics, sales rank, ad CTR, reader reviews. Maintain a simple spreadsheet of what headlines, ad copies worked. If sales aren't growing, consider revising the cover or trying new promotional channels. Instead of vague advice like, write better, this breaks success into practical tasks. It emphasizes leverage. The more aligned your positioning and packaging are with proven reader interests, the more your writing efforts will pay off. Let's set realistic milestones so you know what to expect at 6, 12, and 24 months. At 6 months, Success doesn't mean a bestseller, it means progress, finishing your first draft or revising it, and if possible, self-publishing a book or short project. You might also launch a simple author website or start gathering email subscribers. Even 50 to 100 subs is a win at this stage. The key is building momentum in the right areas. At 12 months, aim to have launched at least 1 or 2 books and have a routine. Maybe you have your first novel or novella out and a second well into editing. You've set up your newsletter and have a few hundred readers, and you understand basic marketing, like running a small ad campaign or doing a newsletter swap. You're likely breaking even on costs or making a few sales a week. This is still very early. Many authors spend the first year just learning the ropes. At 24 months, you should have a body of work, for example, 3 to 4 books, and a clearer brand. If you've been consistent, you may see a steady trickle of readers and some small monthly income. Even $100 to $500 is normal early on. The important shift is that you've built a process, writing and production pipeline, a cover designer, an editor, and a mailing list of a few hundred subscribers. In the indie world, many author careers only take off after 5 to 7 books, so hitting those first few releases is laying the groundwork. Here's the mindset shift that makes these timelines survivable. Early years are for infrastructure, not income. Most authors quit because they secretly expect validation too early. When month 6 doesn't look like success, they assume they're failing. In reality, they're just still building invisible assets, skills, systems, reader trust. At 6 months, your book is the asset. At 12 months, your process is the asset. At 24 months, your repeatability is the asset. Income teaches almost nothing in the beginning. Consistency teaches everything. So let's map out a 24-month plan. Month 1 to 6. Complete and self-publish your first book or a related shorter work. Start building an email list by giving away a short story or newsletter sign-up. Month 6 to 12. Publish book number 2. By month 12, have 1 to 2 releases and a sustainable writing schedule. For example, writing new drafts each month while another book is in editing. Keep growing your newsletter. Target 200 to 500 subscribers. Month 12 to 24. Ramp up output to 3 to 5 total releases. At this point, you're polishing your craft and your release machine. You know how long editing and cover design takes, so you can pipeline the work. Continue marketing each launch, ads, promotions, and refine based on what's working. Use this not as a fixed promise, but as a framework. If you're only a bit behind these marks, you're still on track. The key is consistent progress. Even tiny steps count. At the beginning of this video, I said most writers are sold a timeline that quietly wastes years. What we replaced it with instead was something simpler and far more powerful. Feedback instead of waiting, leverage instead of luck, and control instead of permission. Every system we covered today points back to that same idea. I know this is a lot of information, so let me conclude with a calm reminder. Success is built on process, not on luck or hype. If you feel overwhelmed, just pick one system at a time. Follow the timelines and checklists we discussed. Progress might be slow, but it compounds. If you found this strategic breakdown helpful, consider subscribing for more execution-focused advice. Indie Inc. is a place where writing meets execution, and we have more clear, no-fluff videos coming up. Next, check out our video on the real reason your book isn't selling. Finally, for a practical boost today, download Indie Inc.'s free self-publishing checklist in the video description. It's an optional but useful roadmap covering every step from draft to launch, so you can apply exactly what we talked about. Remember, you don't need miracles, just a smarter path. Build these systems, keep writing, and you'll be amazed at how far you can go in the months and years ahead. Good luck, and keep executing on the plan.